When Chris Martin talks about Jungkook as the most authentic person, one thing he often emphasizes is the way he sings. Not only because her vocal technique is perfect, but because every word that comes out of her mouth feels like a living story. There is something behind Jungkook's voice that makes people pause, not because his pitch is high or his vibrato is beautiful, but because there is honesty emanating from each voice. His voice is like a mirror, clear, but it also reflects the deepest emotions that sometimes cannot even be expressed in words. For many great musicians, including Chris Martin, such a thing is the most difficult thing to find in the world of modern music. In an era where sound could be digitally polished, auto-tune could fix everything. Authenticity became rare. But Jungkook is different. He doesn't just sing with technique, he sings with raw feeling, with the courage to show wounds and imperfections. And that's what makes his voice not just beautiful, but alive. If we go back a little bit to the past, before Jungkook became the golden mean known to the world, he was just a teenager who liked to sing in the bathroom, imitating American singers like Justin Timberlake and Usher. But interestingly, even from that time, Jungkook already had one constant. He always wanted to understand the meaning behind songs, not just imitate his voice. He often said in interviews, "I wonder why someone wrote that song, how they feel when they sing." And when he finally grew up in a fast-paced industry, that view was never lost. Chris Martin recorded My Universe. When they recorded in the studio in Seoul, Jungkook didn't just sing the lyrics Chris had written. He listened to the meaning behind it. He asked small details. Why the word universe is used, why we are one. For Chris, it was a shock, because most singers will immediately focus on tone and timing, but Jungkook instead focuses on taste. He asked me about the meaning of every word, Chris laughs. And that's when I knew he's not just a singer, he's a storyteller. And that's what makes a big difference. Because in the world of pop music, most songs are born for quick consumption. But when Jungkook sings something, it's like a new life. Take, for example, Still With You, his solo song that he uploaded without promotion on SoundCloud. Just a piano, a little reverb, and Jungkook's soft voice, but millions of people around the world are listening with tears in their eyes. Because there is such a strong honesty in it. He's not trying to sound perfect, it's just honest. It's the same with Seven, her solo debut under an international label. Many people said the song sounded light and catchy, but Chris Martin looked deeper. In an interview with Billboard, Chris said that Jungkook has a rare ability to make a simple melody feel sacred. It was a beautiful and heavy sentence at the same time, because not every singer can make a pop song feel sincere, especially in an industry filled with fast food hits. But Jungkook did it easily, unknowingly. What makes his voice unique is not just technique, but intention. When he sings, he thinks not about the success of the song, not about the streaming record, but about how he can convey his true feelings. And oddly enough, precisely because of this, all the songs he touches are invariably successful. From Euphoria, Still With You, to Standing Next to You, they all have one common thread: real feelings. Chris Martin described Jungkook as a voice that feels human. It may sound simple, but in the context of modern music, it's a very deep compliment. As most singers now sound produced, the sound is good, but it feels flat, cold, like a factory product. Jungkook is just the opposite. Every time he sings, there is breath, there is vibration, there is warmth. He doesn't try to sound perfect, but because of that, he sounds perfect in his own way. And interestingly, Jungkook himself often felt insecure about his voice. In several interviews, he once said that he always wanted to learn more, that he felt that he was still lacking. But it was precisely that humility that made his voice even stronger. Because every time he sings from a genuine place, a place where someone still wants to grow, not from the ego of someone who feels like a legend. Even international vocal experts admit this. In several YouTube analyses, professional vocal coaches dissected how Jungkook controls his breath, plays the timbre of his voice, and channels his emotions without losing his tone. But they all agree on one thing. Jungkook has something that can't be taught: connection. When he sang, his listeners felt he was speaking directly to them. There is no distance between the artist and the audience. And perhaps therein lies the real influence. Because Jungkook's voice is not only comforting, but healing. Many fans admitted that listening to her songs in difficult times, they felt calmer, bolder, more alive. Her voice became a companion in times of loneliness, a reminder that there is still simple good in this harsh world. Chris Martin knows that power. As a musician who always writes songs with spiritual meaning, he can recognize when someone sings with their heart. And for him, Jungkook is one of the few young singers who still brings soul to pop music. He once said, "When Jungkook sings, you can hear hope." A simple sentence, but if it comes from someone of Chris Martin's class, it's not a preamble. That's a confession. And come to think of it, Jungkook was just like that. He didn't just sing to be heard, but to be felt. Every tone he utters is a wordless form of communication, like an open letter to anyone willing to listen. Her voice serves as a bridge between the pop world and the purest human feelings, and perhaps that's why she's called the most authentic. Because in a world where sound is often a product, Jungkook made it a recognition. And that's not something anyone can have, even among BTS members themselves. Only he has the ability to make one simple sentence sound like a life story. Jungkook's voice isn't just music. It is a mirror of his own heart. And maybe that's why when Chris Martin talks about Jungkook, his tone always changes a little softer, more sincere. Because behind every success and record, Chris knows such a voice is rarely born in this world. It's not training, that's a godsend. And Jungkook knows that his responsibility is not just to keep that voice beautiful, but to keep it honest, because that's where all the influence comes from. Just imagine what it's like to live under the global spotlight since the age of 15. Your every move is recorded, your every expression interpreted, and every little mistake can turn into headlines. For most people, it can be devastating. But for Jungkook, that pressure actually shaped him into someone stronger, wiser, and oddly enough, more human. Here's the paradox that amazes Chris Martin. In the midst of a system that deifies perfection, Jungkook chooses to be honest about his imperfections. And that's what made him win. In an industry like K-pop, perfection isn't just a target, it's an unwritten rule. Idols should look flawless. Flawless skin, stable voice, polite behavior, proportional body. Every aspect of their life is arranged. Even the breath feels like it has a rhythm to follow. But Jungkook, despite being raised in that system, has always refused to lose his human side. He grew up with BTS, a group that changed industry standards. But despite all his accomplishments, Jungkook knows that being an idol doesn't mean you have to stop being human. Chris Martin once said in an interview with Rolling Stone, "What struck me about Jungkook is that he's aware of the machine, but he doesn't let it consume him." This sentence describes something deep: consciousness. Jungkook knows he's part of a giant industry, but he doesn't let himself lose control of who he is. He knows the line between working hard and losing himself. It wasn't easy. Many of the world's artists have fallen by the wayside at that point when their careers were too big for them to handle. But Jungkook managed to find a rare balance. One example is how he shows his daily life honestly to the public. In the midst of idols who always appear on brand, Jungkook shows himself washing, cleaning the house, eating ramen, even watching a movie alone in the middle of the night. He does not hide the fact that behind the fame, he is still a man with simple habits. It makes his fans feel closer, but it also makes a lot of people inspired that you can be amazing without having to lose your authenticity. Chris Martin sees that side as a form of courage. Most artists are afraid to be real because it breaks the illusion, he said. But Jungkook breaks the illusion, and that's why people love him more. In a world that lives on illusions, honesty can be a form of resistance. And Jungkook does that in the most gentle way, by being himself. Just look at the journey of the body and its appearance. Jungkook has often been a topic of conversation in the media because of his physical transformation, from a skinny teenager to a man with an athletic and muscular body. But behind all that, she never sold her body as the main attraction. She trains herself not to look perfect on camera, but because she wants to feel healthy and strong. In several live broadcasts, he said, "I exercise not because I want people to say I'm handsome. I do it because I want to feel better." Simple sentence, but reflects his philosophy of life. In a world that judges by looks, Jungkook refuses to be the product of expectations. And precisely because of that, he becomes the new representation of perfection, not because he has no defects, but because he accepts his defects as part of himself. Chris Martin also called Jungkook a rare balance between humility and confidence. It's a rare combination. Many young stars have lost their way amid the praise, but Jungkook is even more grounded. He knows how much influence he has, but never forgets that he is just one man among billions. In many moments, she seemed more comfortable sitting in the studio, rehearsing or talking about music than at a big party or celebration. One of the moments that illustrates his calmness is when BTS took a hiatus to focus on solo projects. Many fans were anxious, many media speculated, but Jungkook spoke with a calmness rarely seen in young pop stars. "I'm not afraid to be alone," he said. "I believe that if I am honest with myself, the results will follow." Those words sounded simple, but they were spoken in a calm tone, as if he was completely sure. And time proved he was right. 7, 3D, and Standing Next to You were all global successes, not because of the hype, but because he remained who he was. Chris Martin saw a reflection of himself there. In the past, Coldplay has also experienced similar pressures. It has to keep up with trends. It has to stay relevant. But Chris chooses the path of honesty, and he sees Jungkook walking the same path. "He reminds me of when we were younger, trying to stay true while the world keeps spinning faster," Chris said. What makes Jungkook even more special is his way of dealing with criticism. It is not reactive. It does not shy away. He stared. On many occasions, Jungkook confessed that he reads the comments on social media, but not to get angry, but rather to learn. "Sometimes it hurts, but I have to know how people look at me," she said. "If I can fix it, I'll try." It shows incredible maturity for someone who grew up in a stressful world. When the world demands perfection, Jungkook reciprocates with sincerity. And perhaps this is the most thrilling thing of all, that behind the glitter, behind all the incredible achievements, Jungkook still chose to be himself. He does not cover up worries, does not refuse weakness. Even in the song My Time, he talks about his feelings as a teenager who lost youth to a career. He sang it not with a tone of despair, but with such human honesty. And that song, without major promotion, is one of the most powerful pieces in BTS's discography. Chris Martin believes that the world needs more artists like Jungkook, not because he's perfect, but because he dares to be imperfect in front of the world. That's what authenticity looks like, he said. He doesn't hide his humanity, he embraces it. And perhaps this is the reason why Jungkook is becoming the new benchmark in the global industry. When many people compete to create an image, he actually creates a connection. While the others are busy polishing the impression, he exposes reality. When others are afraid to seem weak, he finds strength there. The world may never stop demanding perfection, but Jungkook has proven that you don't have to be perfect to be amazing. You just have to be honest, and the world will believe you. And for Chris Martin, that's the biggest lesson from a young man who is now considered a paragon of world legend. That sometimes the strongest are not the loudest, but the bravest remain themselves when everyone tells them to change.